have a secret. I used to struggle with dull, saggy skin. Then I found Spoiled Child's E27 liquid collagen. This extra strength liquid formula, packed with type 1 and type 3 collagen, vitamin C, and hyaluronic acid, makes it so easy to visibly transform your skin and hair. No more chunky collagen powders, just a smooth, delicious liquid that can be blended with any drink. With over 100,000 five-star reviews, this liquid collagen is going viral for a reason. And with their try before you buy offer, you could try your full-size product at home before buying. Take the quiz at spoiledchild.com/quiz. That's spoiledchild.com/quiz. Explaining football to the friend who's just there for the nachos? Hard. Tailgating from home like a pro with snacks and drinks everyone will love? An easy win. And with Instacart helping deliver the snack time MVPs to your door, you're ready for the game in as fast as 30 minutes. So you never miss a play or lose your seat on the couch or have to go head-to-head for the last chicken wing. Shop Game Day faves on Instacart and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 grocery orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Other fees and terms apply.
Hello, you are listening to Just Films and That. This is the podcast where we talk about those films we think deserve a little bit more love. Whether they're underrated or underseen, we're going to talk about them. So, let's see what it's going to be this week. Hello, yes, welcome back to another episode of Just Films and That. I'm the host, Josh Hallam, and I'm joined as ever by my co-host, Jamie Allerton, but also my co-host, returning co-host, Alice Oliver. She's back, everybody. Mum and Dad are back together, and we've adopted a kid. Yay! So, this week, we thought, because it's the first time that we have released an episode on the 5th of November, there's pretty much only one film that you can talk about on the 5th of November. So, between us, we thought we'd do a little episode on V for Vendetta. If you've not seen it, I'm not going to do the plot. It's the plot of V for Vendetta. It's based on a graphic novel by Alan Moore, and I think it's David Lloyd, is it? Is it David Lloyd, Jamie? You know comics.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It's definitely the only one who got credit in the credits.
Yeah. So anyway, it's based on the graphic novel by Alan Moore. The reason we picked it is because it comes out on the 5th of November. We thought it's the best time to do it, and the 5th of November comes around on a Tuesday every, 7 or 8 years or something like that. So who knows where we'll be in 2031 or whatever. Anyway, I've looked at the scores, right? And I thought this was just going to be highly rated and highly seen and all that, and we'd just be talking about how much we enjoyed it and things like that. And that may not be the case, but I think it's underrated. Yeah, I think it's underrated. So just to remind you of how we do the scores, we'll come back to it later on, but we do the IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, audience and critics, and we work out the average. So at the time of recording, IMDb is 8.10. Sorry, 8.1. 8.10 is not a thing. That's 9.
I think that's a 9, Josh. That's a 9.
So,
1, 2, 3, 4. I've been doing lots of counting the past few months.
Have you?
I can help you, Josh, if you want.
I could never get past 8.10. Right, so 8.1 is the IMDb. The audience on Rotten Tomatoes give it 90%.
Whoa.
But the critics on Rotten Tomatoes give it, and this could be a point of discussion, 73%, which I think the critics score on Rotten Tomatoes is underrated. We'll do the average later, but I think the critics score, I think 73% is underrated. So in terms of the format of the podcast, that's what I thought we could frame it talking about it, look through that. So Alice, I have a feeling we've all seen this before. I definitely have, because I sort of chose it. But Alice, have you seen this one before?
I have seen it before. I think I've seen it only once though. But Ollie absolutely loves this film. Like he was buzzing when I said you'd picked it, so he was really looking forward to watching it. But yeah, I had seen it, and my memory of it was of me enjoying it. So I was quite looking forward to go back into it again. And I was thinking, well, what other bonfire night films are there? And I came up short. I couldn't think of a single one. Then I started thinking, like, is there any about like fireworks or anything? And I was like, nah. Nothing came to mind. So this might be the only one.
The only bonfire night film. So when I watch this, I watch this every bonfire night.
Do you?
Yeah, it's like my little. So I really like bonfire night. It's my little bonfire night tradition. I watch this every year on bonfire night.
That's cute.
Jamie, had you seen this one before?
Yeah, I've seen this a couple of times. I'm actually one of the ones who didn't like it the first time I saw it. because of the marketing. I remember the marketing heavily was like, this is the Wachowskis who are involved in this. And the trailers they just showed those 2 action scenes quite a bit and sold it as an action film. So I remember being disappointed the first time because obviously I'm an idiot. And then watching it again, I love this film now. I'd agree it's like high 8 or 9. I give it an 8.10.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. I mean, the shadow of, in terms of the Wachowskis are I think they wrote this, didn't they?
Yeah.
But the shadow of the Matrix loomed large over this when it came out. I do remember. Yeah, that.
I think the director he was like second unit director for the Matrix as well. So that was heavily like, this guy has done all the stunts, so we're gonna have,
it's going to be action heavy rather than dystopian heavy. Okay, so we've all got a good relationship with the film. So let's get stuck into it. And just to remind people at home, the structure, we'll talk about what we liked about it, talk about what we didn't like about it, and then we'll go back to those scores to see if we do think it's underrated or underseen. So Alice, since you're back, what did you like about it then? What did you like about V for Vendetta?
So there's a few things that I like. I think the main thing that I like is the cinematography, the way it's shot, some of the framing, some of that sort of stuff. I thought it was really dramatic and had a heck of an impact. I also felt like it felt like a comic book film. Like the way it was shot felt like a comic book film, if you know what I mean. And I think even if you didn't know that this was based on a comic book, I think you do really get that vibe as well. There's just like a couple of moments that really stand out for me. So there's John Hurt's character, who's the Chancellor. And whenever we're with him, there's like a gathering, like a board of people, isn't there, that are sort of doing his bidding and making sure that, everything's in order in this world sort of thing. And every time we're in that environment, you've got John Hurt on this massive screen. He's the Chancellor, I think he is. And then all these people down below. And the way that whole thing is framed is just really, really striking, I think. And then you've got that funny thing of, because John Hurt's so heavily associated with 1984, and then you've got him being this very menacing, this very domineering presence on the screen when all these like guys are just sitting down at the bottom on their little chairs sort of thing. So I thought all that was very dramatic and used to great effect. And the other moment is when we've got that TV personality, is it Prothero?
Yeah, the sort of propagandist type.
Yes. Guy. So we've got this wonderful sequence where he's at home in his shower and, there's mirrors everywhere and he's watching himself on television and he's reciting the words that he said on the news that day and stuff. All this hugely like maniacal, like narcissistic sort of stuff. And he's watching himself on the television and he switches the television off and V is just there, like in the reflection of the television behind him. I thought that was really dramatic. When it happened, I was like, oh, that was good. That was a good use of reflection just there. And there was a few things like this that went on throughout, just the way that the characters are framed, the way that the shots have been set up. I thought that was all very dramatic and just used to very good effect. I thought it was very successful in making me feel stuff.
You say egomaniacal, but I quite often listen to this when I'm in the shower and just say the words of the intro over and over again. You know what I mean? I think Jamie watches clips of himself on YouTube and just does his material to himself.
Yeah, well, sorry, actually, totally normal.
I listen to old episodes of you two and just recite your words.
Just the one where we did Quickly Down Under.
Yeah, shower's not even
on. Right, okay. I mean, it's interesting that the 1984 thing really runs through this because it sort of crops up a bit in my dislikes, but it's not a dislike. It is just very derivative of 1984, but it's a choice. The fact they've cast John Hurt in that role is not a mistake. It's not an error. They've obviously gone. Remember him? He played Winston in the 80s, and now he's big. He's the big brother character, isn't he? So I thought that was really interesting. And I have read the comic, but not for a long time, and I don't. Have either of you read the comic?
No. Yeah.
And is it very much like almost like a graphic novel of 1984 with some fighting put in?
No. I think because it's Alan Moore, it's a lot more complex. I mean, he's very wordy, Alan Moore, isn't he? Kind of hands over. I get the feeling he doesn't really care what it looks like that much because he cares so much about the writing. He'll hand it over to artists that he trusts and then go, there you go. Ironically, when he hands over his properties to filmmakers, he doesn't trust them at all and will badmouth them the weeks before the film's coming out. But his comic books aren't, well, they can be visually striking, but I don't think he actually writes and then there's a huge picture of Batman coming out of, the dark or something like that. He kind of trusts the artist a bit more.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Jamie, what did you like about it then? What did you like about it having watched it again?
So to ride on the back of what Alice said about how visually stunning it looks, I think it's really well directed, considering this is James McTeague's first film that he directed. Handling, like, there's some flashbacks in this that I think, considering what has happened to V and what has happened to the different characters in the film, you understand everything. Like, it'd be easy to actually muddle up like Natalie Portman's character's backstory with what happened to Valerie. But I think everything is actually quite clear of what is going on, and he kind of passes out that information using the detective's kind of investigation along with that. Because I had as like one of my favorite things in this is the Valerie flashback and the death of the botanist together. But then I realized that's just because I really like how this is directed.
Yeah,
I think he's done very well on both of those. Like, the amount of empathy you feel for people in this when you want to. Like, he's very good at making you go, I want you to feel this for this character. So you really hate certain people, like, you know,
Creedy and
yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think it's so well. I mean, overall script and execution and direction, I think are, for me, it's some of the strongest I've seen. Which is strange because I had a little look at what James McTeague had gone on to do, and other than Ninja Assassin, which I've not seen, but I don't think I'd heard of the other films. So it's almost like I wonder if he did it because the Wachowskis couldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, or I wonder if they were so heavily involved that it's almost like he was the name above the door type thing. But I don't know. But that shouldn't take anything away from him. He might have been really, really heavily involved, and this was not from what I've read, this was not an easy film to make. You know, if you don't know the guy who played V, James Purefoy, was cast as V, and he walked off after a couple of weeks, just basically saying he couldn't he felt he couldn't play the character, do the character justice because he was behind a mask, and Hugo Weaving came in. Director sort of is on record as saying that they basically, obviously because all the voice is dubbed, because you can't hear what Hugo Weaving's saying behind his mask, that he can tell when the switch over happened, but he doesn't think anyone else would. But no, I think it's so well done in terms of plotting and like you say, Jamie, the weaving of the storylines and the build up of tension. There's that bit at the end, isn't there, where Stephen Ray's character is just sort of laying it all out as the dominoes are being put together. I mean, that's a little bit on the nose in terms of dominoes falling, but I also appreciate the fact that they really did get like thousands of dominoes. I mean, imagine if you knock one over just as you walk past.
Although, I mean, realistically, when you watch it, you're like, V, you've got a lot to do. Don't be fannying about with doing all this as well. Get Natalie Portman to help. Yeah. Project together.
But he's like, do me one favour, instead of being like, come back and dance with this song, be like, come back and help me with these dominoes.
Do the domino thing, please.
Please, I don't want to do it. It's absolutely. I've got to do it with gloves on because of my hands. I just don't. Yeah, please don't.
Does it not see properly because of the mask?
Does it? I can't see. Does it spell V? You find out all of them just actually are the head of a domino company, and he's got Vendetta against them.
He's had them the wrong way round.
Yeah. But no, it's. I think it gets it. I think it gets the balance really right as well between being engaging and watchable, but also tackling issues as well. Without it's not too overbearing, but it does thematically deal with issues of things like homophobia and Islamophobia and just prejudice in general and things like that. And so I really like that. Again, to come back to what you said, Alice, I really like this dystopian future because never says when it is. So it came out in 2005. It could have gone. Do you know what I mean? If it was 10 years from then, we're almost 10 years past that, scarily enough. But you get the impression it's the near future. And what they do a really good job of, a bit like they do in 1984, is everything sort of is the same, but grayer and duller and more rigid. And obviously you've got this totalitarian government in charge. But by presenting you with this world where, a lot of the narrative, when it comes through people watching videos, cuts to the same groups of people, whether they're in the pub, in an old people's home, just at home, and their houses and their pubs and their old people homes look like they did in 2005 and look like they did now. Apart from the fact that I did notice that someone was smoking, I was like, "No, you didn't guess that, did you?" But it looks the same, doesn't it? So I think that's why it's so done really well. I like the action as well, but like Jamie said, it sort of promised to something it didn't deliver in terms of the trailers, because it's like you're basically thinking this is like a comic book action film, and actually it's much more than that. So to advertise it as that does it a disservice. But I do think the action when it is in it is good. Well, I mean, what do you both think of the action? I'll come to you first, Alice.
Yeah, I was quite happy with the action, and some moments were much more violent than others. And obviously, I thought that was quite dramatic, because you get the sort of quite standard, comic book Marvel-esque. It's like, oh, it's just a punch here and a punch there, and then a bit later on, it's like, oh no, people are getting stabbed and there's blood everywhere and proper like murderings happening. And I was like, I enjoy that. I like a bit stylish violence. You know me.
Yeah, you love a bit of stylish violence.
On film, not to commit such acts.
What about you, Jamie? You actually commit them?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just reenact anything I see. No, I think it's really well done. You can kind of tell that this is directed by someone who's used to directing action, and it does have its own sense of style. I had a look at how they filmed it, and I think the stuntmen slowed down when V was fighting them, so he would move at a normal pace, they'd move at a slower pace, and then they filmed it at a slower rate as well, just to kind of make it seem different. I do think, kind of on what we were saying about maybe it could have done with more action, I think if they just dropped in like one action piece where he gets caught killing off that bishop, that might have appeased those kind of people who are like, oh, there's been a lot of plot here, I'm not too happy about this, no one's been shot in a while. Which, and then it might have shown that, because he's kind of perfect in this as well, isn't he? Like, is everything goes to plan for V. So to show him as like a little bit fallible by throwing in him getting caught and him reacting to something with a new action piece might have done. But what's in there, I'm happy with.
What do we think? So move from action to acting. That's one of the things that in my notes is I do think the acting in this is really good. There's the odd bit with some dialogue stuff, which perhaps we could come back to. But I do think Hugo Weaving had a really difficult job in this film, like to make that character so likable and so engaging when you actually can't show any facial expressions. I mean, I'd say it's akin to animation, but it's not even akin to animation, because in animation they can animate around your voice. So it's almost like a unique. I can't think of many other films where an actor would be presented with such a unique challenge as this. I think
Frank was the one that.
Frank, that's a really good point, actually. And again, I remember when we did Frank, that was one of the things we were saying was like, how did Michael Fassbender make such an engaging character off a papier-mâché head? And it's the same in this, but it's not a papier-mâché head. So I think Hugo Weaving's great in this. I do think Natalie Portman's really good in it. I think actually Stephen Rea is a highlight for me. I think he's so likable. Like he's almost like, he's not the emotional heart of the film. That's probably more like Natalie Portman's character, but he's almost the character that holds your hand as the audience member. So I really like that. What did you think of the acting, Jamie?
Yeah, no, I really liked it. I think we have to talk about the obvious, that Natalie Portman is American. I think she does a really good. I think she does really well in this.
Yeah.
And to compare it, like, because getting into watching Vendetta, I then followed up by watching From Hell. And when you look at how kind of Heather Graham does with the American accent, not to diss another actor, but I've seen some criticism of Natalie Portman in this, and I think she gets it spot on. But also to act around an accent and then to then go, oh, also I need to act. Like that, she has a clear arc in this as well, where she knows about kind of the mistakes that the government makes because she works for the TV company, but she's not really that bothered. She's kind of well-to-do. She's happy. And then you see a real change in her when she is tortured by
when the main character tortures her.
Yeah, our main hero shaves her head and tortures her.
And that was such a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
Because she was at the premiere of Star Wars with a shaved head, and it was like this. Oh my god, what's she shaved her head for? And it was like this big. Natalie Portman's not, she ain't your Queen Amidala or Kid or Matilda from Leon anymore. She's going to be, she's going to be the next big thing, and she was. To be fair, she's absolutely was huge, is huge. So, yeah. So, what do you think about the acting, Alice?
So I think V is like the standout, sort of physically, and I really like the script. His script is obviously the most impactful, and the way that his script has been written, it's sometimes quite musical and like quite poetic and stuff, and his delivery is excellent. Hugo Weaving, I mean, he's pretty decent anyway, but I think he did a really good job. I wasn't 100% sold on Natalie. Not through her acting. I think that was fine, but the accent I just couldn't get on board with. It was a bit too much. It was a bit too, oh blast, governor, we're going to blow up the Houses of Parliament. Oh dear, terribly dangerous stuff, isn't it? It was a bit like that.
On the line. I mean, that's spot on, Alice. No,
Nailed it.
I think I fall a little bit between the two of you. I think she is good. There is the odd bit where it does sound like an American doing an English accent, but also it's really hard with performances like that. You can't switch that off unless you can do sort of what Christian Bale's done and managed to fool everyone in the world into not knowing where you're actually from. Then it's hard to not be watching it thinking, well, I know she's doing an English accent. But at the same time, it's not Keanu Reeves in Dracula, is it, Alice?
Nothing ever will be. Nothing ever will be.
I know where the bastard sleeps.
Ancestors, I see the resemblance.
Although when you think about it, she's acting opposite an Australian who is absolutely smashing all it. And he's being asked to do about 5 different accents on this. And at one point he's doing like West Country and he's crushing it. Like Hugo Weaving is I'd say the best in this. And yeah, when he does I can't remember the name of the character, but
Rookwood.
It's pretty much, Rookwood. And he's doing, is he like Cornish or something? But
so what I noticed about that scene, it's interesting actually, is I think in that scene, so he's taken the name of a dead John Doe and he's pretending to be him to try and lure the inspector in and lay everything out for him. But if you listen, what he's doing in that scene is mimicking Stephen Ray's voice. So Stephen Ray's got like a sort of Yorkshire accent.
Yeah.
And he's doing it back to him. So he's like going, for you, Inspector, I needed you.
Yeah.
Like that. It's so I think that's on purpose. I think it's like a mocking thing. I think it's meant to be because if he hears his own accent, he won't be concentrating as much sort of thing. I think that's the point.
Nice.
It might not be. It might be that he just picked picked a city and went, Leeds or something, and went, I'll do the accent. But yeah, Leeds.
All right, Inspector. I'm not going to hurt you. Don't worry.
I'm going to try Jamaican. Josh. No, V, don't do the Jamaican.
Don't do the voice. Don't do the voice, V. Don't. Okay, so we'll move on to the dislikes then. I don't get the impression there's going to be loads. I mean, does anyone have any massive bombs they want to drop here, or?
Sorry, Alice. Go.
Oh, no, Jamie, please, you go.
So for a dystopia, things are going pretty well for everyone in this, aren't they? Like, it looks nice.
It's really not that bad.
I think they brought in John.
You can smoke in the pub. You brought it back.
Yeah. I know.
Like, I think they brought in John Hurt because they need a quick link to dystopia. We need to the future. We need to show what this government's like. All right, well, we'll just remind everyone about 1984 because everyone, like, Natalie Portman's flat is really nice. Stephen Fry's got a beautiful house. Every time they cut to someone, they're in like either a well-maintained old people's home, or they're in pubs are still alive in this future, or it's a family unit that looks like they're in a quite nice house, and they don't really represent like the downside of this dystopia.
But did you notice that every single person they cut to does appear to be white and heterosexual?
All right, don't clip that up, Josh.
No, but what I mean is
don't clip that up in the reverse. And then I say this looks perfect.
Is the point not meant to be?
Yeah,
it's all right if you're these people.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
is that not the point that it's making?
They've purposely not cast any black people in any main roles, and they do mention that there's obviously been issues with Muslims in this reality where I think they've just put everyone in prison. They've had like internment camps.
Yeah, it's basically like almost. It's basically a genocide against. It would appear. It doesn't specifically say what it is, but it does specifically say Islamic people. It does specifically say gay people. But the impression you get is like if you're not white and heterosexual, then you're not wanted. Basically, that's what I got from it. Anyway, and, do you know what I mean? Unless I've just looked too much into it.
No. I think that sounds about right. And I noticed as well with the pub scenes, overwhelmingly men. Overwhelmingly men still. And I was like, oh, that's interesting that this is sort of sometime in the future. I think one of the characters says something about something they did back in 2016. So it's sort of from then, like, onwards or whatever. And I was looking at the pub scenes and I was like, there's like 90% men in this pub. I was like, that's interesting. It's like, where are all the women, really? But yeah, I think that was an accurate read, Josh.
But also, I do agree with you. Like, even with that, everyone's living in comfort. Is like, and
Yeah.
like it says in the film, there's a quarantine, isn't there? So maybe it's actually just. The other thing I'm not sure of is this in this version of England? Is it just London? Like, have they just quarantined the rest of the country and been like it's London and everyone else? Like a lot of people from London want it to be, Jamie. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, they're down
Wouldn't
there.
that be the dream if we can just have London do itself and we'll just enjoy our £3.50 pints up here?
Someone does mention. I'm pretty sure someone mentions Nottingham at one point. Because I was like, oh, that's the first sort of
I think
hint
it's
that we
where
get.
Valerie's born.
Is it? Yeah.
She said I was born in Nottingham in 1985.
Yes.
I've seen this film a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Were her parents in London when they started going to protests, or were they?
I'm not, as in Evie's parents.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, because everyone kind of gets radicalized. Oh yeah, Valerie's parents are just.
They just.
Oh no, you're gay, move out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's right. They don't really touch on what happens to the rest of the country. Again, please don't clip that up.
Jamie's got some really troubling views here. I'm sorry.
I know, yeah, I'm shocked. What's happened these past few months, man?
Anything from you, Alice? Anything other dislikes from you?
So there's only two things. One thing is completely definable and I can explain it. The other thing is just a bit of a broad nothing.
She's
point
back. She's back.
Should...
I love it. I love this. One of my favourites. Alice has got a problem with the film and now we have to figure out what it is she actually means.
Yeah. So but Josh is usually really good at figuring it out and he can articulate things that I can't. So first one is Natalie Portman's accent. We've already touched on it, but I do find it very distracting. It's not the best English accent I've ever heard, but like you say, it's also not the worst. The other thing is I didn't feel a particularly strong emotional connection to the characters. So obviously V and Evie are two protagonists really, and I was like, I'm not like, my heart isn't hurting for them sort of thing. Like, it's not sort of, for me, it's not life or death if they do succeed, if they don't succeed, whatever happens to them sort of thing. And again, I was watching and I was trying to figure out, why is that? Is it because Natalie Portman can't do the accent and V is behind a mask? Like, what are those things kind of blocking me from being able to fully like engage with these two people? I'm not sure. What is it, Josh? Tell me.
I would say,
tell me what I don't know.
I would say there is a purposeful attempt at anonymity for the characters in this, in that the whole point of the thing that Natalie Portman says at the end is that he could have been anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if he could have been anybody, perhaps that extends to her, and she could have been anybody. They're just almost bird's eye view characters that are making a point more around the thematic things that the film is dealing with in terms of the prejudice and the the dystopian elements of it. That's what I'd say. It's almost like, because they don't do much to make you like Evie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? She is
okay, good. So it's not just me then, and you can sort of get that as well.
No,
yeah.
I don't think there is a great deal of emotionality in this film. I think it's steering away from that point. I think it's more making a point generally. And that's why I think Stephen Ray's character is so much warmer than all the other characters, because he seems far realer. Like, if you look at all the other characters, they're all very constructed, whereas he looks a little bit bedraggled and a little bit scruffy, and he speaks more warmly in that sense. That's what I think it is. I think it's designed so you don't really engage with it in that sense. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Jamie? Do you think Alice just likes to see Natalie Portman get her head shaved? And
Well, I think it's odd that, like, the person who I relate to the most, or who I kind of felt most empathy with, was Valerie. I think her little section is made so well that then, and Natalie Portman, once she has her big revelation, she kind of sods off for half a year, and you don't really see what that change in her has done. And then she comes back, V carries on doing as little Machiavellian plot, and then she comes back, and you don't really see, well, what is her life now. And also, she makes some choices, like when she chooses to warn the bishop. You're kind of on side with V, and now a bishop who's very naughty. Personally, I think we all would be like, I can't wait for my mate to show up, because he's going to absolutely bash you in a second, mate. But she kind of
absolutely bash you in a second, mate. Are you from the Beano, Jamie?
That's verbatim. That's what she says. That's what it said in the script. That's what I heard.
She said he's going to come in and give you a wedgie.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that, though, because during that sequence, I was like, oh, she must be doing like a double bluff or something. It's like, there's no way. But then thinking about it and thinking about some of the things that Josh has just said, it's almost like that's so normal for a priest to be doing that it's like she's just totally unaffected by it. It's like, yeah, obviously this fella's like raping underage girls or whatever, and it's like it's almost like it's so normal to her that she doesn't even bat an eyelid, sort of thing. But yeah, it was that whole sequence. I was like, oh, what is happening? What is she doing?
Maybe she does that to justify what V does, because it's like she's on side with V, but she's not kind of fully sold on the cause of we need to take down this government. And then that it kind of justifies, because she's a protagonist. She would be counted as on his team, but because she's still making choices like that, it justifies, you know, spending however long in a cell having rats refugee food and shaving your head, and you're watching it going, yeah, well, you shouldn't have dobbed on V, should you?
Yeah, you deserve this. Yeah, you grass. You know what happens to grass is like. What about you, Josh? Was there anything you didn't like? You said at the top that you have a lot of affection for this film.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I struggled to find. So the only thing I could think is it is derivative of 1984, but I think that's on purpose, so I don't think that's a dislike. There's the odd bit where Natalie Portman's accent does slip. The only thing I could find is, and I've never noticed this before, but there's the little bugbear which has come up before, which is Americans writing dialogue for English characters and forgetting to say. So there's a bit where he walks into the TV station, the guy's like, I'm watching a commercial or something like that, and you're like, what? You're watching an advert, mate. That's what you want.
Yeah,
like,
that's an ad. That's the ad break. So I have been, sorry, just to go off topic a little bit. So I've been watching Ted Lasso while I'm on maternity leave, and there is loads of that.
There is a lot of that in
like
that.
It's like, this is an American script, but with British actors, but for an American audience. So a lot of it is just like, we don't talk that way. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't say that sort of thing. But yeah, I definitely got those vibes with this as well.
Well, I assume as three English people, we've all had Eggy in the basket. I'm sorry.
What was that, Jamie?
As three Brits.
Three English people.
As three Brits.
Oh, it was nice, wasn't it, whilst it lasted? Alice coming back. Fucking hell.
We've all had Eggy in the basket this morning for breakfast, right?
Yeah, because it's the 5th of November when this comes out, because it's live. Yeah. I actually have had Eggy in the basket. It's very nice.
I'd never heard of that.
Heard of it.
It's not really worth the effort to make it.
I've had eggy bread. I like eggy bread.
It's literally, you cut a hole in the bread and you cook the egg and toast it and flip it. It's all right.
Lovely.
If someone said to me, I'm making you Eggy in the basket for breakfast, I'd be like, I have to go now and never talk to you again. I'm sorry.
Bye.
What egg would you have? What's an acceptable egg that you'd be like, I'll stay around for this? Poached? Omelette?
Scrambled, no toast. Just really weird.
Just a big bowl of scrambled
egg. 2
litres.
A
bowl of scrambled egg with 11 eggs, please.
And no eye contact.
Okay, so we'll move on to the critical reception then. So just to remind everyone, we get the IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes audience, and Rotten Tomatoes critics, and we average them out. So I picked this again, A, because it's Bonfire Night, but B, also, I think that critic score is underrated. So just to take you through the scores and the average again, IMDb, 8.1, not 8.10.
8.10.
Rotten Tomatoes audience give it I think, a fair 90%, and I'm going to go big on that. And the critics on Rotten Tomatoes give it 73%. Now, that averages out at 81. Yeah, if you round it down, 81% or 8.1. So the IMDb is fairly spot on. But I still think that critic score is too low. So I'm saying underrated. And now that there's 3 of us, we can actually have a proper vote. So what do you think?
So for me, I think like that's kind of appropriately rated.
73 is appropriately rated, or 81 is.
Yeah, maybe. So
okay.
when you said you thought it was underrated, I thought we were getting like 58, 61 sort of thing, and then you said the scores, and I was like, oh, that's like fine or whatever. Yeah. But you obviously really, really like it.
It's all framed for it. I've got a lot of affections for this film.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jamie, Alice is wrong about that. What do you think?
Well, now I have to appease one of you. No, I'd put this as like a high 8. I do.
Yeah, there he is.
There you go.
Just because I think what James McTeague achieved and also like this was really brave. In 2005, you having a kind of a terrorist doing destruction to a major city and saying this is a good thing. It was quite bold to pull off. So I think for what they achieved, I'd give it a higher rating.
That's interesting, actually. Like in that post sort of 9/11 kind of world and vibe and stuff. Yeah, that's an interesting. So this came out in 2005.
2005, yeah.
Yeah, see, it does feel it definitely feels more modern than that, and it feels a little bit timeless. Actually, like I think you could release this now, and it would still
I think it's aged really well.
It has, hasn't it?
What's weird is the source material is like a condemnation of Thatcher Britain, and then at the time it's a condemnation of like kind of the. Would that be like Cameron-esque or post?
No, so I think so. Yeah, like you say, it was
Tony Blair, was it?
Yeah, Blair. Yeah,
I think this is more. It's probably more along your lines if you sort of post 9/11.
Yeah,
Iraq,
it's that fear,
Afghanistan.
that fear of what we're becoming.
Yeah.
And then now, I mean, you see, I know we're not a political podcast, but there are certain characters in this who you're like, oh, I recognize him from the TV.
Yeah, without naming anyone, I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
But yeah, no, okay. So in that case, 2-1 vote. It is underrated then. So I'm well happy with that. Give it a watch if you've not seen it, because I think even though Alice didn't think it was underrated, I think we'd all recommend it. It's definitely worth a watch. And we'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, it's filmsandthatpod at gmail.com, or on all the social medias. Search for Just Films and That on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. You'll find us. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week. It's goodbye from me and my two co-hosts. Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Christopher Kimball from Milk Street Radio. I often shop at Whole Foods Market since they sell the kind of food I like. Organic vegetables, a great meat counter, and of course a great staff. For Thanksgiving, Whole Foods offers brine turkeys, as well as a spiral-cut bone-in ham. The Whole Foods Market Bakery has a large assortment of pies, even a vegan pumpkin pie, or grab some brioche and butterflake rolls for the table as well. Or you can ask the Whole Foods team to cater your meal for you, including the bird, the sides, and desserts. Get your holiday party started at Whole Foods Market.
Hey, it's Mark Maron from WTF, here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
1-800-Flowers.com knows that a gift is never just a gift. A gift is an expression of everything you feel and helps to build more meaningful relationships. 1-800-Flowers takes the pressure off by helping you navigate life's important moments by making it simple to find the perfect gift. From flowers and cookies to cake and chocolate, 1-800-Flowers helps guide you in finding the right gift to say how you feel. To learn more, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.